right? Yeah, okay, there's just a delay on my end. There's gonna be a bit more background noise than there normally would be because I got a fan going and a couple of windows open because I recently sprayed for ants a couple hours ago and just want to make sure all the fumes are out. Now we are going to be reacting to The Odd Vanishing by Amelia Earhart, who we can all pretty much agree is probably dead at this point. But also another side note, if you'll allow me to get a moment to share something cool with you guys. Here. Just bring back. Okay, so this is a character I made for a fanfiction I'm writing, and I actually named her sort of after Amelia Earhart. Her name is Aerospark, and you can kind of see where the inspiration for her name came from. And her, and she has a human, and she has like a mixed with local vibe sort of thing. I mean, you know the Hollow Matter forms in the IDW comic books? She's got one, and the name for her Hollow Matter form is Amelia Boyer. Her first name came from Amelia Earhart, and her last name came from another pioneer for female aviators. So let's get to the video. 3, 2, 1, play.
This week on Buzzfeed Unsolved, we discuss the enduring mystery behind the disappearance of famed pilot Amelia Earhart. This one has been the topic of wide speculation for about 80 years now. There's a lot of interesting
Yeah, she's definitely dead.
I don't know any of them.
This seems cut and dry, but...
Oh no? There's more to it?
There may be more than meets the eye here. Oh.
And I showed you Transformers, so see of mine.
Alright. Shall we just get into it then?
Yes.
On July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart, the first woman to cross the Atlantic and one of the most famous women in the world, disappeared along with her navigator, Fred Noonan, while attempting to circumnavigate the globe at the equator. Before we get into the incident, let's quickly provide some context into how accomplished Earhart truly was. The babe of the sky.
Is that what they called her?
I've heard that, yeah.
That's dope.
Pretty sick.
Babe in the sky. Yeah, there goes Amelia Earhart, babe in the sky.
Amelia Earhart was born on July 24, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. In 1928, Earhart became the first woman to cross the Atlantic, albeit as a passenger in a plane with 2 other pilots. However, on May 20th to the
40 when she went missing.
Earhart would make the
I
trip
think.
again, this time alone, flying from Newfoundland to Ireland for about 15 hours. She was the second person to ever complete this flight. During this trip, she demonstrated her resourcefulness.
Yeah, she was 40 when she was about 40 when she disappeared.
The fuel tank, ice on the wings, and a cracked manifold, which caused the engine to spew flames at one point.
That's not good.
She still completed the flight. On August 24th, 1932, Earhart flew from LA to Newark, setting a record at that time for longest distance flown without refueling. She also became the first female pilot to complete a non-stop transcontinental flight.
She's got some salt in the game.
She's the Michael Jordan of flying.
Well, Michael Jordan never disappeared on a basketball court forever.
Well, in terms of accomplishments, Michael Jordan never went up.
Did I just burp and laugh at the same time?
Where'd he go? Where'd the air go? This takes us to 1937, when Earhart set her sights on circling the globe, zigzagging along the equator, requiring long hauls over water. If successful, she would have been the first female pilot to fly around the world. Her journey would have taken her about 29,000 miles over roughly 40 days, starting and ending in California, and would have included 20 stops, including San Juan, Calcutta, and Bangkok.
Hope she's bringing some chewy bars.
One
Dude,
time,
she's got memories. She has bad memories.
How long was it?
It was, like 19 hours.
Dude.
And this was 40 days?
This is 40 days.
Ay.
That's a month.
Yeah.
That's more than a month.
One thing from, like, eating popcorn, our favorite thing to do in the world. Imagine sitting in the all you did was eat popcorn Okay, that sounds pretty good.
sounds
That's
pretty
pretty good, actually. That's a bad
You
example.
gotta mix it up.
Flew in a twin-engine Lockheed
I
10
mean,
Electra,
like a certain amount of
10-passenger
foods, but I like to mix it up.
airplane, specifically outfitted with special tanks that allowed it to carry over 1,000
Because
pounds of
if I'm
fuel
sick and tired of
further
eating
than the
something, then I won't eat it.
So when they built
For
this
like a
one, they
while.
specifically said, let's make a plane that won't catch on fire.
I mean, that's the goal with every plane, is it?
Seems like they're not doing a great job at that.
I'm just
I
saying.
mean, that's why I fucking hate chicken.
Someone is like, oh, it would be funny.
Because whenever you have one of whenever you have a relative who can't eat, like, steak come over, we're stuck eating chicken.
You know, on that
And I did eat fish, but I didn't know it was fish until I was halfway done eating the fish.
You know what they're going to use this for? No. Well, they're that babe of the sky. She's gonna fly around the globe. Oh, is that so? Is that what she thinks she's gonna do?
Oopsie.
Oops.
There goes a screw.
Yeah.
Sky belongs to men.
It is a little dark.
On May 21st,
That's better.
Earhart and her navigator Noonan started their journey from Oakland, California on the morning of July 2nd,
The Golden Gate
1937.
Bridge.
42 days into their journey, Earhart and Noonan prepared to leave Lae, New Guinea. Leaving Lae, the Electra was carrying the most fuel it had on this expedition, about 1,000 pounds worth. They were already roughly 22,000 miles into the trip, and had about another 7,000 to go before returning to California.
I wonder how the
She began to
bathrooms
stop
like on those planes.
2,556 miles away on Howland Island to refuel. It was about an 18-hour flight. Harry
Ah,
Bell, the
man.
radio operator for Guinea Airways,
Your legs would be so
also
stiff
set
after
a
that.
schedule for he and Earhart to send transmissions to each other once every hour. Soon after Earhart's plane took off, Balfour noted that the headwinds were stronger than anybody had thought. He sent transmissions of this information to Earhart 3 times over the course of 2 hours. However, Earhart did not seem to get these transmissions. Headwind speed could affect plane speed, gas consumption, and length of flight. Around 2:18 p.m., Earhart's transmissions, which had been blocked earlier, were finally received by Balfour in Lae. She gave her speed, 140 knots, and altitude, 7,000 feet, and things seemed to be okay. A little over an hour later, her next transmission stated that she had climbed to 10,000 feet. This may have been uneconomical in terms of fuel usage. It's unclear why Earhart made this climb.
To
Author
catch
Elgin
some
Long,
wind?
a veteran pilot, guesses it may have been to avoid clouds or mountains.
You think she just went vert? Just like,
I don't know.
what do you
Maybe.
think of this, Noonan?
Maybe there was something she had to avoid that was coming at her.
Like a dragon.
If this is a preview of what's to come.
Maybe. You never know. This transmission also seemed to be delayed, though they were still on course, and it's believed that the experienced pilot Earhart would have realized the problem with the headwinds by this point. As they neared Howland Island, the plane was likely down to a last 97-gallon tank of fuel. The Coast Guard's Itasca, a 250-foot boat off the coast of Howland Island, was to provide communications and weather for Earhart upon
Okay,
her
the thing's
arrival.
between.
It is thought that Earhart's plane must have gotten fairly close to the island, because the Itasca did hear her transmissions, which grew stronger as sunrise came and went. In fact, they thought Earhart was close enough that the radio operator on board the Itasca went outside to look for her plane. In one of her last transmissions, Earhart told the Itasca, quote, "We must be on you, but cannot see you," end quote. She radioed, quote, "Gas is running low," end quote. Earhart's last transmission at 8:43 a.m. was, quote, "We are on the line 157-337. We will repeat message. We will repeat this on 6,210 kilocycles. Wait," end quote. While there are conflicting reports, the transmission may have also included, quote, "We are running north and south," end quote. In her final transmissions, Earhart's voice was described as, quote, "frantic," end quote.
Did Fred chime in during any of these?
Not really. I think Fred was too busy white-knuckling it in the passenger seat.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. My wife told me not to do this.
Exactly. After that, Earhart was never officially heard from again. When Earhart's plane never arrived, the Itasca searched the waters northwest of Howland Island. On July 7th, 5 days later, the U.S. battleship Colorado began to search the waters to the southeast. An aircraft carrier, the Lexington, arrived soon after.
I think
from
that
San
ship is
Diego
now a
and
wreck.
started searching the region until July 18th. To this day, neither Earhart, Noonan, or their plane were ever found. But that hasn't stopped the world from speculating about what happened. Let's go over the theories. The first theory is is perhaps the most widely accepted theory, that Earhart's plane ran out of gas.
Yeah, I
and
think
she
that
and
was a
Noonan
fact.
died when they crashed into the ocean northwest of their destination. Although skeptics have pointed out that an Electra with that amount of fuel should have lasted 24 hours in flight rather than 20, as Earhart's plane did. Analysis by the Jet Propulsion Center at Caltech concluded that with the headwinds and the 10,000-foot climb Earhart was forced to take early in the flight, her plane would have been out of fuel when she disappeared. Near Howland Island, the ocean is about 18,000 feet deep.
Oh, man.
From 2002 until March 2017, a company called Nauticos teamed up with other groups to search a nearly 2,000 square nautical mile area of the Pacific Ocean floor, where Earhart's Electra may have sunk. They used sonar mapping to search the seafloor, but have not found evidence of the aircraft.
Open and shut. I don't get this. It's all there.
Is this going to be your Occam's razor thing that you always cite?
I think perhaps they slammed into the ocean and sank to the bottom of the sea.
They're going to comb that ocean, baby. And when they do,
No one can comb the ocean.
They're
You
gonna-
can't drag the
Now I'm just thinking of that scene in Spaceballs with
that ocean's going to have
the
90
two
feet of air.
knockoff
The second
stormtroopers with a
week,
giant comb combing the
Earhart
sand.
passed away on Gardner Island, now called Nakumaroro, roughly 350 nautical miles south of Howland Island. Nakumaroro is along the 157-337 line Earhart last reported flying along. As her plane lost fuel, it is thought she spotted the coral atoll of Nakumaroro that at low tide could have worked as an emergency landing strip. Roughly 2 to 3 years later, in 1939 or 1940, a British colonial officer named Gerald Gallagher found the remains of a campsite on the island, along with a box for a sextant, a tool used to determine latitude and longitude via celestial bodies.
I think that's interesting. I do think it would be interesting if they did end up on an island.
Yeah, if they were running out of gas,
Yeah.
which still is in line with your, whatever you want to call
for
it,
sure.
your calculations, they could have landed.
Yeah, they could have. She was an expert aviator.
She was. And she was good at problem solving under pressure.
She flew a
Not
fireplane.
sure what this stood for. Must have fallen,
However,
and I forgot to
the
pick it
most
up.
provocative thing discovered on the island by Gallagher was a partial human skeleton, as well as 12 other bones. The bones were analyzed by a physician named E.W. Hoodless, who was working in a medical school in Fiji. But Hoodless determined that the bones belonged to a man who was short, stocky, and of European descent, and could not be Earhart or Noonan. Unfortunately, after this conclusion, Hoodless discarded the bones, thereby preventing anyone from DNA analyzing them in the future.
Did you burn them, you dumbass?
A little bit. And maybe, just maybe, should have not thrown
Fucking
out the bones.
He threw out the
dumbass!
bones?
I just said that. He said,
Why the
ain't them.
fuck would you
Thrashers.
fucking
That's
do
not-
that?
These bones don't belong to anybody. Put them back in the ocean.
Yeah, this guy wanted to go home early that day.
Just throwing the bones out.
What scientist does that?
A dumb,
The
sexist
majority
one?
of the true crime cases that you do are plagued with people who don't want to do their jobs.
And they're not thorough.
Yeah, half the reason half of these cases are unsolved is because people got evidence and were like, too much work, burn it.
However, the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, aka TIGAR, used Hoodless's original measurements of the bones and today's updated databases to determine the bones could have also belonged to a taller than average woman of European descent. And Earhart was said to be 5'7" or 5'8".
That's how tall I am.
I'm 5'10", by the way. So, no, there's no.
I might
quote
be
there.
5'9".
Special shoes.
No, no,
I
no,
haven't
that's from the doctor.
had a doctor appointment in a while.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they
I'm
are.
5'10", damn it.
According to TIGAR director Rick Gillespie, the reason for there being only partial bones on the island was because of the coconut crabs that lived
Oh, yeah.
suggests the coconut crabs carried the bones off into burrows, and that they may have eaten her. Coconut crabs grow up to 3 feet
Yeah,
long.
those, you don't want to mess with those
They coconut
fuckers.
with their pincers, and are the largest arthropods living on land.
These are majestic.
They're kind of.
Kamatoa was based off of
Anytime you
them.
think something's majestic, just imagine it if it was like 10 times bigger.
Or if it
Like
was the last
Tamata-
thing you saw before you died.
Now I'm just thinking Kamatoa is a little
TIGAR
shiny.
director Rick Gillespie has also said that a photo taken
And,
in
yeah,
1987 by a British expedition
uh,
to Kumaroro
they
shows what
will-
he believes to be
coconut crabs will
from a
have been known to
plane
eat
out of the
each
water.
other.
He also believes that Earhart would have
I mean, they
used
don't get that big for nothing.
for help for up to a week following the crash.
You don't get that
If
big
the
by doing
radioactive
nothing.
Water, it would not work. Interestingly, according to Gillespie, several possible radio transmissions from Earhart were heard throughout the week after her disappearance, all of which coincided with the low tide on that island. a time when the plane radio was perhaps not underwater and possibly functional. A teenager named Betty Clank claims that via her shortwave radio, she heard a female voice saying, quote, "This is Amelia Earhart. Help me," end quote, and also heard the female voice arguing with a disoriented male's voice. She also claimed to hear, quote, "Water's knee deep. Let me out," end quote.
Well,
A little on the nose there.
yeah.
I mean, I guess if your radio's malfunctioning, you want to get straight to the point. You're not going to say, the story is 1937. I landed on an island.
Let me spin you a yarn that you shan't soon forget.
You have one.
I'm being eaten alive by crabs right now.
Clank listened to the voice coming in clips for 3 hours and recorded what she heard in a notebook. Clank's father reported his daughter's findings to the Coast Guard, who did not seem to take the claim seriously.
Is it because of the
Reports
vagina?
Dozens of messages supposedly from Earhart heard in all parts of the world.
Okay, that would
after her
also be a thing.
In 1991, Gillespie found a partial rubber shoe sole on the island, stamped with the words Cat's Paw Rubber Company USA. The sole was from the same type of shoe Earhart is seen wearing in a photograph taken in Indonesia shortly before her disappearance. Though, the sole belongs to a size 9 shoe, which would have been too big for Earhart.
What the fuck? Man, come on.
That's gotcha.
That's stupid.
For a second there, I saw you perk up.
Yeah.
Gillespie also found a roughly 19-inch by 23.
Maybe she had a pair of shoes that were too big for her, but she kept them anyway.
Gar believes it to be from Earhart's Electra, specifically from a shiny patch near the tail. Though Elgin Long, the first aviator to fly around the globe over both poles and an Earhart researcher/author, says the piece in question is definitively not from Earhart's plane. Other experts, including
Are you
the
just a
Lockheed
dumbass?
employee who had worked on Earhart's plane, concluded the same, according to Long. Further damning to the theory that Earhart was marooned on this island was the fact that Navy planes flew over the island Nikumaroro on July 9th, 1 week after Earhart's disappearance, and saw nothing.
Personally, I love the island theory. I would love it to be true because I like the peril of it. I like
think
the
you
drama.
just like her getting eaten by crabs.
I love the thought of someone getting eaten by crabs.
There it is. I like how you tried to sugarcoat it. And
Yeah.
I went immediately to the core of what I knew you would find
There's
interesting
just
about
something truly gross about it and horrifying.
The third theory,
Yeah.
championed by Roland C. Rainick, a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, is that Earhart was in cahoots with the U.S. government and was indeed a spy. Rainick
Dude,
posited
seriously,
that
Tom San
Earhart
Diego
had a plan
garb?
B, where if she couldn't find Howland Island, she was to ditch her plane near the Marshall Islands, which are only 800 miles away from Howland Island. That way, the U.S. government would be able to perform reconnaissance in the Marshall Islands, which were at the time occupied by Japan, under the guise of searching for Earhart. Corroborating this notion are Marshallese locals, who for decades have said they witnessed Earhart's plane crash on their island. However, the plan went awry when the Japanese intercepted Earhart and Noonan and captured them, releasing them years later, after the war. Then, Earhart and Noonan returned to live out their lives in the United States under assumed names. Amelia Earhart moved to New Jersey.
Why did
changed her
Big
name
listen
to
to
Irene
her?
Reagan, though she married and became Irene Bolam. Though, this theory seems improbable, at least to the thought that Earhart is actually Irene Bolam, since Bolam sued the publisher of a
Oh
book.
man, she looks pissed.
Also, according to Tygar, the resemblance is not that strong, and comparing photos of Earhart to photos of Bolam taken 4 decades apart proved nothing. Regardless, Irene Bolam passed away in 1982.
This is dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Can you imagine if someone just accused you of being Amelia Earhart? You're her. I know you are. I'm going to tell the world.
I do love the idea that the government tells her, land in this area so we can do a little reconnaissance.
Another version of this theory is that after being captured in the Marshall Islands, Earhart and Noonan were eventually executed. An Army sergeant by the name of Thomas E. Devine claimed that in July 1944, he met a group of U.S. Marines guarding a hangar containing Earhart's Electra on the formerly Japanese-settled island of Saipan, which had recently been liberated. Devine also claims the soldiers destroyed the plane. Furthermore, a photo believed to show an obscured Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan on a dock in the Marshall Islands was found in the National Archives by a retired government investigator named Les Kinney.
It sounds like he's very accomplished and distinguished and probably knows what he's talking about. That photo looks like shit. Well, I don't care what he thinks of it.
But yeah, I think that
Maybe
photo
look at it
was
on the
like,
Rorschach
was
blot
like
and
said,
being like, "That's
no,
not
this
your
is
mother."
not
I don't
a
care
thing.
what he thinks. The expert is only as good as the
I
material
think
he has
the
in front of him.
photo
The
theory
photo was
was
analyzed by
said
previous
to be
experts
no.
who were optimistic that it was indeed the missing aviators. Unfortunately, this photo was promptly and apparently debunked.
Yeah, it was
Two
debunked.
bloggers found the
That's
photo
what I was
in a
thinking.
Japanese book published in 1935,
Yeah,
which is 2
so
years before
that's a bit
Earhart
of continuity.
disappeared.
This
So that this photo might as
thing.
well have been taken in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's like, hey, here's a lady who looks like Amelia Earhart in Idaho in 1946.
Photo aside, skeptics have pointed out that Earhart, given her fuel situation, would not have made it to the Marshall Islands regardless. Among those skeptics are Elgin Long, a former pilot, and Fred
Can we just
Patterson,
talk to this
a pilot
guy?
for World Airways and expert on electrics.
So you're wasting my time. You're wasting everybody's time right now.
Okay, all I'm saying is it's not impossible that they overshot the island, went down, and then wherever they landed, even if it wasn't on the Marshall Islands, they got picked up by some freight boat, or they floated close enough that they got picked up by a freight boat. That does not seem crazy to me.
Yeah, that could happen.
Sounds like a fairy tale to me.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that I like this theory quite a bit.
All right. Glad you like it.
Which brings us to our fourth and final theory, that Earhart may have made contact with alien life forms, either by accident or knowingly and in collusion with the U.S. government.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Why? Is it completely impossible that it happened?
No, because I actually.
I think it's a little bit
look,
ridiculous.
aliens are a lot more probable than ghosts.
Admittedly, this alien theory is a bit tinfoil hat, but
You
an
think?
episode of Star Trek Voyager from 1995 capitalized on the idea, so that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I just love that every time I ask you, can you definitively say no? What's the answer? Can you definitively?
We don't need to get into
No,
that.
what do you think? Answer the question. Definitively.
crabs, it's crabs,
Definitively,
it's
can you
crabs.
say that aliens did not have a part in the abduction of Amelia Earhart?
No, I can't.
There you go.
In the end, many believe that Earhart simply crashed and died on impact, but still, there's no way of telling if any of these alternate theories may have transpired until a plane or body is discovered. The case of Amelia Earhart will likely remain unsolved.
You know what? I may be with you. I think crabs won, aliens two crashed through.
I bet the crabs built a little restaurant on the island called Joe's Amelia Shack. They ate for weeks, probably.
Do you think they ate her with butter as well?
Oh, yeah.
That's delicious. And one of them was like, oh, a little too humany for me.
Dude,
I
it's
don't
human.
like when it tastes too humany. I like it meatier. And they were like, shut up, Fred.
Too bold.
I'm sorry you have no culture. Is that morbid?
Mm-hmm. You know all of this is morbid, right?
Sure, whatever. I'm sure human with butter would taste pretty good. Where are you going?
I don't know.
To sleep? Okay. Well, it was aliens.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think Amelia did crash on an island, just not any of the named islands. Maybe it was like an uncharted island at the time. And they didn't have GPS back then, so they couldn't like pop up Google Images and look for her. So I think she and Fred may have landed on an uncharted island and stayed there for a while before eventually dying. And they were able to temporarily use their radio. And then they were eaten by crabs. Did you know the coconut crabs can break your fingers? Enjoy that little factoid.